Hi, welcome. Thanks for coming to Street Versed, Multidisciplinary Poetry and Storytelling. It's really nice to see everyone here. I want to start tonight's program by acknowledging the San Francisco Public Library occupies the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone people, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. We recognize that the Ramaytush Ohlone understand the interconnectedness of all things and have maintained harmony with nature for millennia. We honor the Ramaytush Ohlone people for their enduring commitment to Mother Earth. As the indigenous protectors of this land and in accordance with their traditions, the Ramaytush Ohlone have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as the caretakers of this place, as well as for all people who reside in their traditional territory. We recognize that we benefit from living and working on their traditional homeland. As uninvited guests, we affirm their sovereignty and wish to pay our respects to the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush community. We recognize to respectfully honor Ramaytush people, we must fully embrace and collaborate meaningfully to record indigenous knowledge in how we care for San Francisco and all its people. Tonight's program is inspired by the exhibition Skateboarding San Francisco, Concrete Community Continuity, which is on view across the hall in Jewett Gallery. The exhibition explores culture, identity, and place through different mediums, like the poets and storytellers here tonight. If you haven't seen it, you'll have a few minutes to check it out after tonight's program, but the exhibition is on view through July 6th, so you can always come back to see the show without rushing. I'm honored to introduce José Vadi, award-winning essayist, poet, playwright, and film producer. José curated tonight's program and will read from some of his works. He is the author of Interstate, Essays from California, and Chipped, Writing from a Skateboarder's Lens. His work has been featured by the Paris Review, The Atlantic, the PBS NewsHour, KQED, Free Skate Magazine, Quarter Snacks, Alta Journal, and the Yale Review. Without further introduction, please help me welcome José.
Hello, thank you. When I meet a skater today in a non-skateboarding setting, there's an immediate recognition of the lens we share, a lens that understands passions can be criminalized, that the term public spaces is asterisked, and that space is a construct as much as time. As skaters, we observe the potential of a ledge with specs that also apply to an awareness of public space, noting that the knobs, clamps, and skate stoppers installed on ledges to prevent them from being skated resemble those larger rocks conveniently placed where the unhoused may seek refuge. We will skate either the sketchy neighborhood or the ritzy mansion to avoid the plague of inaction and missed opportunity. From the physical to the figurative, everything will break. The heroism is in the act, not in medals. Through experience in sharing space during skate sessions, we begin to understand those unspoken rules and etiquette organically defined by skaters. We know the stubbornness of trying tricks all day, as well as the seeming futility in attempting to describe a hobby where we roll our ankles and destroy our knees and bruise our elbows and ribs every weekend. There's a recognition that this lens propels, catalyzes, alters actions as much as perceptions and changes lives, sometimes for the poor. For mind to direct body toward action is a remarkable feat. I realize, particularly the older we get, a desire skateboarding fortifies inside of us to go outside and try, if we're lucky. What's up, everyone? San Francisco, how are we doing tonight? A big thank you to Allison, San Francisco Public Library, for having us here. This is an extension, give it up. This is very much an extension of the Skateboarding San Francisco exhibit across the way, curated by Ted Barrow, who's in the audience tonight, as well as Allison and Megan Merritt from San Francisco Public Library. I have the esteemed honor, my name's Jose, and we have the esteemed honor to do this event called Street Versed. There's a very crew of accomplished skateboarders behind me. Street Versed is basically, our attempt to kind of bring storytellers together that in my opinion, have a really interesting relationship with space, whether it's the built environment, whether it's the body, whether it's our political mobilizations, be they musicians, be they poets, be they graphic artists. We're all here sharing space together, which for me is what skateboarding very much is. Skateboarding, I feel like, creates this Venn diagram that just constantly overlaps with graph writers, with B-boys, B-girls, B-people, with punk rockers, with the venues that house us all, including libraries like this. So hence Streetverse. All the stories you're going to be hearing today are poets that, in my opinion, just have a really interesting relationship with space. And that's who you're going to be hearing from tonight. We have an amazing assortment of some of my favorite writers and artists here tonight. Just kind of at large, we have Josiah Luis Alderate, we have PC Munoz, Sophie Yanow, we have Pendarvis Harshaw, we have Johnson, and we have Soledad con carne. Let's give it up for all the performers today. Show of hands of who has skated or skates in the audience. Any active skateboarders? You know, whoop, whoop. All right, cool. Just kind of getting an interesting. Not everyone on the stage tonight is a skateboarder, and that's kind of the point. The point is to kind of bring these cultures together through this exhibit and through this opportunity. So without further ado, are we ready for the first reader of the night? All right. All right, it's my pleasure to introduce Soledad con carne, a casually queer, intergalactic Chicanx poet, punk poet, working/poor multiple high school dropout, co-founder of Press, poet laureate of the San Fernando Valley, and blatant smokers sharing trauma with their mother. Their debut chapbook was recently published by Lilac Press. They're also I would say, the poet laureate of the San Fernando Valley, in my opinion. Let's give it up for Soledad con carne.
Hi. Thank you, Jose and Allison and Ted, for putting all this together. Have not checked it out yet, but I will. I moved back to the SFE recently from Oakland, and I haven't had time to really catch my bearings. But yeah, this connection to the street, I think it's important for like all creators in general to have that relationship. So I really appreciate being asked to read for this. I'm going to start with a poem from the chap and then just kind of go into some other stuff. Okay. Parthenia and Van Nuys. A sweet-talking friend guides me down Parthenia through panoramic streets. We talk of things like the Ramas tamale recipe, the secrets we kept from childhood friends, the birria man and his shiny slick-back hair, whispers from sultry nights that fed into lonesome mornings, that time Alan kicked Eric's ass on some wannabe cholo shit in middle school, punk kids finding shelter under the Taco Bell canopy with only $2 in their studded pockets, just enough for a cheesy bean and rice burrito. That time mom kicked Luce out of the house and her adult boyfriend took her to his dad's to watch anime and pretend like what he was doing wasn't just a future talk with Luce's therapist. The cracks in the sidewalks lead to other realities, like that time Dew passed out drunk on the lawn of Our Lady of Immaculate Conception instead of Our Lady of Perpetual Sorrow. This time the nuns called an Uber, not the pigs. We pick at the sunflowers that bloom from the murals at Plaza del Valle. We wander through Raspado and elote stands over technicolored streets, sing of the blues, the reds, the yellows, and the pinks that illuminate this Chicanx fever dream. El Cucuy prowls the underside of the street while we stumble over clumsy feet, like the steps of a baby, trying to reach whatever Eden can promise to someone who's just at the beginning. The valley on my mind. The heart of the valley beats in panorama, cycling between third world and developed nation, rebirth consistent with the phoenix wing, insistent like a gaslighter. My valley, my first love, my nuanced heartache. The movie star now living in the gutter, the virgin on every street corner. Graffiti exhibits in alleyways and overpasses, tent cities and white yogis posted in Sepulveda Park. New skaters and old homies take shifts in the tennis courts. Mi valle, mi sueño, mi tumba eterna. The stench of the recycle center warring with taco and pupusa stands that line the sidewalks. Men of all ages call to me from both sides of the streets, from when I was 12 to 23, speaking through body language, because Spanish feels like mush in my mouth. English feels like sticks and stones, cracking against my teeth, puncturing my throat, puncturing my words, with a distinct syntax that only speaks to those stuck between borders, between genders, between timelines, stuck in a place, stuck in between success and death. Celebrity fantasy, a poor class reality, in a golden state of fallacy, my wants and dreams surpass the corporeal. I will ascend into what it means to be eternal. I have conquered self and doubt. I have conquered what it is to hate what comes into your mouth. Limerence blinds rationality, almost abandoned what should have been the last straw. I inherited the valley after he left, was cast out, false prophet, self-proclaimed king of the scene, gone. The valley is mine. The valley is the universe, and it is mine. All right, this next poem was recently published in an LA anthology. All of the proceeds were going to firefighters that were the incarcerated firefighters that were fighting the fires that were happening a couple months ago. I can't remember. It's just called LA Anthology. That's what it's just. It's good. Hit up Sophia Aguilar. I think that's just her Instagram handle if you want a copy. Cooking beans takes a long time. Leaving home is a pot of beans made for the first time from bags of celias found on the street. Water measured by reckless hands threatened to overflow, flood the world with beans too stubborn to soften, an onion too raw to process its own growth, salt dried over slabs of old photographs from tears brought on by memories of home. Marigold metro buses gliding down Van Nuys, past the Plaza del Valle to the homies SRO he inherited from the old head punk, who used to pack sunflower petals into rolled-up cigarettes we'd smoke in Anarchy Alley behind the Cobalt Cafe. After teenage punks spent the day slinging pre-sale tickets, printed on orange-lined bus tickets, from Balboa Park to Valley College, where your second first kiss under the power lines connected your arteries to the crisscross sidewalks of LAVC, where your heart would pump along following a blues-type beat, down the same path Wanda walked back in the 60s, then teleport to Pepsi Park, to roll down the hill and day drink behind the Sunland Tahunga Library. Housing the first books you would ever read, the first place you ever learned to walk to by yourself in grade 3, when you first ran away from the home you didn't know you'd miss so much at age 33. Reminiscent of your crucifixion, perched on top of Sepulveda Basin, graffitied with calls to free our kin in Palestine, and flooding with the water gentrified out of the LA River, now running from your eyes, alchemized into the tears of your present place and time. Add a few more drops to the pot, hope to sate the water that aches to destroy itself. I have one San Francisco poem for y'all. Someone's abuelo is out on the corner of Broadway and Columbus, screaming corridos with a certain despecho that's scaring all the tourists out of city lights. The books that float with the pigeons in the sky scatter at each lovelorn note abuelito screeches. I listen to him as I consume the universe with a tired desperation only those with the mantra just one last hit can know. Post up missing flyers up and down 24th and Mission, MLK and MacArthur, Broadway and Columbus that say, I lost my heart leaving Los Angeles. If you see it, a deep shade of blue, cracked and crusted from an internal wound. Please, hand it to the houseless woman that trades me good mornings for cigarettes. I'm out in alleyways, ripping away chunks of my fingertips to leave a trail like kids with candy in the forest. That's how she always knows where to find me, weaving through every BART station. There's an ancient man on BART, his whole life packed into a little gray carrito. He kicks off his sandals, walks around in circles, flicking around garbage, muttering poems in a dialect I don't know. And I scream, what did they do? What did they do to you? What did San Francisco do to you? What did California do to you? Is this what you expected? Is this what you wanted? What dream told you to come here? How did you fail? Who failed you? What was the cost? Over drunken calls home, on the verge of passing out in either Balmy or Kerouac Alley, my homie tells me I'd be the same if we were never colonized. I'd still be that poet of place if I was that atomic Aztec. Write poems about our sacred lands the Europeans never raped and sold, and raped and sold, and raped and sold, and raped and sold, and beat and post a selfie while they call the police on a brown man already down and bleeding. But I tell my friend those poems would still be sad. Those poems would still crave love. Those poems would still not be enough. Eternal sadness is my multidimensional canon. What kind of poet would I be if I wasn't obsessed with my sadness? What kind of poet would I be if I wasn't posted on the corner of every Holy Virgin mural, a 40 in hand, dead Kennedys on repeat, a Hello Kitty halo hovering over my pumpkin head? What kind of poet would I be if I never left my valley, decided to stay in the bay, maybe ran away again? What kind of poet would I be if I just rejected all sense of place, dropped off the face of these alleyways and overpasses, where these cities scream daunting melodies, bouncing off graffitied walls over multi-million-dollar homes, of love and loss and home and gone and buried in the concepts of is and was and are and here and were. The SFV in Oakland, Los Angeles and San Francisco, their sun-bleached and cracking bones constantly repainted like crumbling sugar skulls, living like coma patients on life support. I don't know what ideas we're trying to keep alive anymore. Thank you.
One more time for Soledad. It's crazy, like, speaking of the dead Kennedys and punk bands from San Francisco, like, the night of the opening for this exhibit, there were several people who were pointing out where various, like, this is where the mob was, this is like where this different punk clubs were around Broadway via the skate photos across the way. So thank you, Soledad. All right, next up, coming to the microphone, you may recognize Soledad from their time at City Lights, and you might recognize this next reader from Green Apple Books. Carr Johnson is a writer, performer, and bookseller living in Oakland, California. Their work has appeared in the Los Angeles Press, Fog Lifter, and Red Light Lit anthology, Love is the Drug, and Other Dark Poems, among other publications. Very much check out Red Light Lit, a lot of readings here in the city. They hold an MFA from San Francisco State University and serve as the events coordinator for Green Apple Books. You can find them at Carr Johnson Writes on social media. Let's give a big round of applause for Carr Johnson.
Thanks, Jose. I've been a longtime fan of Jose's work, so that I was invited to be a part of this is a big deal for me, and I'm appreciative, and I'm so excited to be in this lineup with my fellow readers and at the public library. Like, we're so lucky. We're so lucky. We're going to move between San Francisco and Oakland tonight. This is called Compelled to Bloom. Pull back. Keen in on the sound. In any city, if you choose, you can hear the birds. Just will your ears and decide to miss the bus. The season is swelling. The petals have yet to wither. We are inextricable from this time, and the boy is trying to see his reflection in the shop window, what it would look like as a threat. Pull back. We are a queenless hive, waxing, waning. It's April outside, and I'm surrounded by right angles doing the wrong thing. In the middle of watercolor season, a spot of ink. The grass hisses long at the wind's touch. Every tree is a celebrity. Bees are always thinking of their unborn sisters when they set themselves to work. Pull back. A string instrument as mime. The bees are moving, not knowing about the boy and what he sees in the mirror, how he thinks about being seen, jumping in front of himself, hands clasped, index fingers stern on his own likeness. They move for a generation that will meet in the summer, and they will never know. Come closer. The flowers don't come from nowhere, but a diligent creature, compelled to blooms from birth. Our hands humbled by a soil too fertile to even know where to begin. All right. This is, the only thing you need to know about this is that it's written like a play. I can see that, you can't. Act 3. Lights up. We find ourselves on Earth, the planet as distinct from sky and sea. The fireworks have driven the coyotes into the streets, 200 species lost in 24 hours. The blue here is not just one color, but a constant search for definition. Every shade and edge dependent on between. The perimeter is round, a basin from the eye. Horizons are subjective. It's July and there's snow on the mountain. This rock is overwhelmed with itself. Enter left. A memory moves across the stage, embodied, a strawberry thrown to a goose in the water who flew south for the summer, early without knowing the time. The bright red of the fruit in relief of the lake's surface. Narrator. This wasn't bad. Despite the snow and the heat, we laughed and ate the berries, sent the stems back to the earth. There was conversation we tried our best to recall. It was an adequate sign, a great content. See, we really thought that the world would choose a temperature in which to end, but here we were still spinning, still eating, and being still. Each day carry a brief altar of not forgetting amid the atrophy of it all. Our end is coming fast and long, so we've learned to occupy our time, not hate hell so much, not know all the answers, because a blue without a name is almost like hope. Curtain. So I'm glad there are fellow booksellers in the audience and that like librarians are like, oh my gosh. We work in a delicate ecosystem of book people, and librarians are my heroes as our fellow booksellers. Yeah, that's right, they are. All you need to know is that I'm a bookseller for this poem, if you couldn't tell from the turtleneck. I've seen a forest grow here. Saplings turn to trees, children carried by their parents, making sheep say ba. Then, with 2 feet on the ground, they flip to choose their own adventure. And now they take the 44 on their own, linger in the romance, in the occult. They can process light, syllables, philosophy. Their capacity mesmerizes. I'm old growth at the counter, orbit by orbit. Their interests get closer to me as they age. Opal, August, Omar, they were so fragile. Fontanelles and loose teeth. They're fragile still, but so capable. I'm urged to this forest, to its service, its protection. We share roots and water. I want them to have what they need. A challenge they can handle, something to soothe this middle grade, mother tree and a cool uncle. I've always wanted to be a redwood. The gift of their existence is witness, vitality, adaptability. I praise the counter that has sown me, us. We're indelible, present. Dear Lord, dear everything, keep me planted here. My last one. The ferry from the Giants game was delayed, then canceled. We waited for the one that was set to arrive in 1 hour, so we kept ourselves occupied for 1 hour, had an iced coffee, read a book, sat on a bench in the plaza. Then, 1 hour later, we lined up with a 1 hour long line, and we kept reading, joking, ignoring the radiating tenseness of the person behind us, tight as a wire, who wanted to know, needed to know, if we were going to make this boat. Of indeterminate age, somewhere between 13 and 33, his father impassive in the back of the group, the determined calm of a dad 2 rum drinks into his Sunday, left his kid or adult son in charge of their travel plans, and the son, panicked as if dropped with only a knife and a compass into the wilderness of the Embarcadero, needed to know if we were going to make this boat. So, 1 hour late, we all got on the boat. A little rocky at the launch, children running down the aisles explicitly unattended, a bartender nicer than this morning's had been. We made our way home, all joviality burnt off by this time, well over people, narrowing in on the comforts of our own bathroom, safe and prostrate on the living room floor, when we found out a man leapt off the canceled ferry, refused life preservers, let himself go. I was in bed, so soft but for scratches on my belly I was tending, dirt beneath my fingernails from the dog's leash on our twilight walk. No one told us about the ferry, we hadn't asked why. No one had but the kid or man and his father whose hands were washed of the situation and risen in resignation. Estuary is a word I have always aspired to use, and I saved it in my pocket until the appropriate moment. It must be lonely to drown in front of a group of people, to make them watch how lonely you felt. We were just sipping iced coffee on a bench. I wore a ball cap backward that made me look like a kid trying to be an adult. I read a book about obituaries. I read the thin columns and the round O and the sharp T. Divers have swept the estuary and haven't found a trace of loneliness. I spilled the coffee looking for my ball cap and said, "God damn it." And even after I heard a man screaming to himself on the plaza in that 1 hour of easy occupation, I had said, "It's days like this that make me really love this place." Thank you.
Car Johnson, one more time for Car Johnson. All right. Next to the microphone, Pendarvis Harshaw, an award-winning journalist from Oakland who writes about prisons, politics, hip-hop, and all things impacting his Northern California community. He currently works at KQED, where he's an arts and culture columnist. Shout out to KQED. Pendarvis is the co-creator and writer for the award-winning digital multimedia project Facing Life, which had an event here a couple years ago you might have seen, which chronicles the journeys of formerly incarcerated people after they leave prison. He has taught journalism to high school students as well as incarcerated men. His first book, OG Told Me, is a self-published memoir-style collection of essays about his coming-of-age experience as a black man in the United States. Prior to becoming a journalist, Pendarvis worked as an educator in the Oakland Unified School District. Shout out to all of our teachers in attendance today. He is a graduate of Howard University's School of Communications and the University of California, Berkeley's Graduate School of Journalism. You can reach out to Pendarvis at OG Pen on all social media platforms. That's with 2 N's. Give it up for Pendarvis Harshaw.
How's everybody doing this evening? Good to see you all. Thank you for being here. I'm Around Real Poets, and I am a journalist. Let's have fun. A revolutionary in mustard yellow slacks. Uncle Wendell was a revolutionary in mustard yellow slacks. A regular at the Serenader bar, a true player, fly gators, cufflinks, diesel bins. He had 2 daughters with 6 syllables between their names. By the time they were grown, and he was a middle-aged man, bachelor in banana-colored slacks, who stepped out to the bar every so often, and when he did, he let me and my homies sometimes invite girls over to his crib and do what teenage boys did. He cracked jokes, but he handled his biz. He showed up for family, and he kept his slacks creased, sharp as a hairpin. He let me and my play cousin John drive his Benz. He bought us Remy Red. He had a bench and weights. We were too young to lift them, but we tried because we were trying to become men. See, me and John's dads weren't around, so Unc held it down. He was a revolutionary. No fist of protests, no letter from Birmingham, no apartheid divest, but he did have that framed image of Black Jesus and those Black Panther statuettes. A cool cat in school bus colored slacks, hat to match, doing revolutionary acts. He fought the system by simply asking one question anytime we saw him. "You got money in your pocket?" Doesn't matter what we said, he'd shoot us a couple dollars. Candy money turned to weed money as we got older, but he didn't care what we spent it on as long as we weren't broke. See, his theory was, if you give men money, they won't be dummies. If you feed the young man when he's hungry, he won't be bummy. If you got a little paper, you won't end up on papers. I said, if you have some money in your palms, you won't end up behind bars. So he taught me and John how to fold money properly, how to tie a wave cap with blue magic underneath, how to speak to women respectfully. And he tried to show us how to coordinate a tie with some slacks the color of the sunrise. I said, he tried. He was a revolutionary, and I didn't get to thank him for fighting for me. I saw him one last time at the big old tire shop on West Mack and West Street. It's no longer there, and no longer is he. He was frail, slim, no slacks, denim. He didn't ask if I had money in my pockets. I did. I should have paid him every dime, or at least covered the fee for his tires. Who repays the revolutionaries for their work? I see his grandson now, and his great-nephews too. I give them big hugs and shoot them money on Cash App, but it's not enough. I want to be a revolutionary, but I ain't cool enough to wear mustard yellow slacks. Don't stop at the red light. That's what they'll get you. The numbers on vehicular robberies have dropped over the past year, but everyone's still afraid of getting bit. It's like auto terrorism. Watch where you park. Shit, watch where you stop. A woman got her window busted while she was driving, idling at the light, and flash of lightning. Thunder in her right ear, her backpack was going like light wind. Don't stop at every light, man. Shit. What happened to me the other night, man? Don't stop at any lights. Foot on brake, I'm turning left, music playing, something soft. Jagged Edge, Keith Sweat, Luther, Case. Maybe it was Sir, Chasing Summer. It's a blur, I don't really remember. But look, I know I was singing along word for word, throat got tight, rub eyes like soft fur, and nose start to burn, and then tear ducts turn on. Overdrive, like when you mourn. Water porn, algae, schools of fish, coral, a whale drops. Man, I'm blubbering. Biblical flooding. I reach for the door to avoid drowning and realize that the car is crowded, emotions all around me. Things I've been running from, driving from, hiding from. I'll get back to them. Haven't collided with them. They finally caught me at the light. Car behind me honking. It's green, asshole. If they got out and busted my window, they'd only be saving me. There's a footnote in Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo's 1542 captain log. Their ship landed off the coast of what the white men call San Diego. Aboard were 15 men of Moorish descent, New World Africans, NWAs. Were they navigators, religious leaders, or were they enchained? Donkey ropes, 360 deals, treated like livestock. We don't even know their names. Whatever the case, their presence is worth their weight in gold. We don't know much about them, but you can't tell me that the first Africans in California didn't talk in E40 slang. They probably rapped as they prayed to Allah like the Jacka did. The name San Diego is from St. Didacus of Alaca, a Spanish Franciscan saint. The land belonged to the natives, the Kumeyaay. So did the sea, the sun, and the rain. The colonizers came for gold. They circumnavigated the globe in search of Tupac's nose ring. California, the name comes from Queen Khalifa, a fictional Amazonian warrior queen. She had afro puffs like Lady of Rage, style like Yo-Yo, energy like Kamaya. She ruled over the island of California, a land rife with gold. There are currently 2 million African Americans in California. A number of people came during the gold rush of the 1840s, but most black folks came during the Great Migration of the 1900s. We were told that there were jobs, that there were homes, that the streets were paved in gold. One generation later, my OG's partners sitting around talking, sipping old gold. Black folks have the highest rate of heart disease and incarceration. Free to bruh. Lowest education, we go dumb. Lack of home ownership and highest levels of homelessness, we in the building. Yeah. Many came enslaved, others from the far side, running away. Some came before the white man, but that's a tale for another day. So when I think about that ship that the homies pulled up on, I imagine it as a lowrider on Dayton's, slapping Ice-T's first tape. They were looking for a city made of gold, riches, all the wealth that the world holds. Plus, they were looking for the women from that one Snoop Dogg and Dre video. Gluttonous. E40 told us that there's no need to go platinum. You should be happy going ghetto gold. I wonder, when that ship docked, when the anchor set, when they set up shop, Where did those Africans go? Thank you.
Keep it going for Pendarvis. All right, we're gonna change it up a little bit with our next performer, next reader. Have the pleasure of introducing, and I just learned how to properly pronounce their last name, which I've been butchering for about 2 years now. Sophie Yanow is an award-winning artist and writer whose work has been published by The New Yorker, The Guardian, The Paris Review, The Nib, Drawn, and Quarterly, which publishes their books and more. Yanow's work has been nominated for, among others, a Lambda Literary Award, a Publishing Triangle Award, an Ignatz Award, and was longlisted for a Believer Book Award. Her comic, The Contradictions, won an Eisner Award, and her translation of Dominique Goblet's Pretending is Lying won the Scott Moncrief Prize for translation from the French. She is a MacDowell Fellow, and she currently teaches at California College of the Arts in their MFA and BFA in Comics program. Please, a warm round of applause for Sophie Yanow.
All right, hello. Yeah, we're multimedia. Okay, happy to be here. Thank you, Jose and Allison, for inviting me, and stoked to be reading with all of y'all. All right. When Jose asked me to read in conjunction with the amazing skate exhibit that's up at the library right now, I felt a certain pressure to write about what skateboarding has brought to my relationship with cities. And it's certainly bringing me something, but as a person who only started seriously skating at the age of 32, and that was a few years ago now, yes, I am told I'm older than I look, I'm skating mostly in suburban skate parks, and skateboarding is not foundational to my relationship with cities. But taking up skating after the age of 30 has made me reflect a bit, because as I try to progress as a skater, more often than I'd like to admit, I find myself saying that I'm a little bummed that I wasted the high-risk-taking prefrontal lobe expansion era of my life on hitchhiking, shoplifting, and riding fixed-gear bikes. But that stuff, that's the stuff I did in cities. I'm not a city kid. I grew up in rural West Marin, a one bus out of the woods in the morning and one bus back to the woods in the evening type of place. No sidewalks except for at the new post office, where all our mail was delivered, no home delivery. As a result, my childhood skateboarding career didn't last very long. We lived over a giant mountain, so you couldn't even really bike into town. I was out in the woods, and I was largely on foot. But in my early teens, my parents would let me take the ferry to San Francisco by myself or with my friends. I would arrive at the Embarcadero and walk up Market Street. Maybe I was going to Tower Records or just wandering around, but that's where I first saw bike messengers. I quickly thought there was nothing cooler. Sorry, skaters, I was obsessed with them. I saved up my money to buy a messenger bag the summer before sophomore year of high school. This would have been around 2001. Messenger bag really still felt like it meant this is what bike messengers wear. I bought a 3-panel Timbuktu bag like the ones I saw them wearing in the city. I still didn't ride bikes on account of the big hill, but I devoured the bike messenger mystique. What drew me to it in particular? When I was 16, I saw Lynn Breedlove's book Godspeed on display at a big chain bookstore in Marin. The book had an androgynous punk rock bike messenger on the cover. In fact, the image from the last slide was based on that cover. I bought it and ate up the descriptions of San Francisco messenger dyke life. I was one of 2 out queer kids at my school, the other being my freshly minted girlfriend. Remember, it was 2001. And now it was confirmed, messenger culture was queer. How could I be anything but obsessed? Then I went to college in Santa Cruz. I beelined it to the Bike Church Bike Co-op and finally got a bike. I converted it to a fixed gear, the type of bike that doesn't have a freewheel. You can never stop pedaling. I rode it up and down the Santa Cruz hills like a mad person, suddenly not afraid. At the time, I thought I was a poser because I had a front brake. But in my post-frontal lobe expansion era, I realized, no, I was a true freak and I could have died 1,000 times over. The messenger bag got stolen, but not long after that, I burned through a stop sign, maybe even yelling no brakes like Lynn Breedlove's protagonist in Godspeed, only to slam right into the side of a minivan and break my clavicle. I couldn't wear a messenger bag with any weight in it after that. I left a dent on the side of the van, which I was kind of proud of at the time, but now I think it's kind of cringe. You weren't a poser kid, you weren't delivering packages, but you were completely crazy. Eventually, when I did live in cities, it was not so easy for me. It turns out being from somewhere rural can make for a hard transition. But in Paris, in Oakland, in Montreal, the intersection of queerness and riding my bike was the foundation of my experience there. San Francisco messenger culture put a bug in me and shaped my relationship with every city that I've ever lived in, and maybe every story I've ever told about a city I've lived in. I might never be a good skater. My risk tolerance is low, my progress is slow, but I try to remind myself, I have this whole other thing, and it wasn't a total wash. Anyway, so with that little intro, or long intro, a little longer than I planned, here's a couple of excerpts from some comics about cities and queerness and cities and bikes and queerness and ruralness. Okay. Oh, this is a really old one. Oh. When I'm cruising around town dressed like a 16-year-old skater, I sometimes get the impression that middle-aged women are checking me out, wishing they could leave their husbands and join the sisterhood. So yeah, that's from 2012. But here's a little longer one. So this is from my last graphic novel, The Contradictions. No one smiles here, except tourists. Don't be a tourist. I need to buy some black clothes. One student, s'il vous plaît. In the time after the psychedelics and the critical theory and the breakup, I had dropped most of my classes. In a daze, I had walked to the study abroad office and asked for any option without a language requirement. Rip, pluck, flop. Paris seemed far enough away. Sketch, sketch. My parents were adventurous lefties who had raised me on their stories of travel and late 60s political unrest. Tuck. Here I was, age 20, and so far I felt I had few stories worth telling. I'd always been too nervous for risky behavior, with the exception of some thoroughly researched drug use, and too wishy-washy to stick it to the man. But now I was abroad. If something was going to change, surely this was the place for it. Hey, Mom, can you call me back so I can save minutes? Bzz, bzz. I wish I brought my bike. No, I do like the metro, except nobody smiles. When I get home, I literally have like a layer of dirt on my skin just from walking around. It's kind of gross. I'm reading Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance and the Dharma Bums. It's like the universe is trying to tell me something about travel and self-discovery. Did you hitchhike in Germany or only later? No, I haven't seen her yet. I kind of want to do my own thing. I should go. Orientation is tonight. Love you. Bye. Welcome. Here for orientation? Yeah, it's Yanow, Y-A-N. Okay, here you are. You're all set. The reception is upstairs. Peas and carrots, peas and carrots. Peas and carrots, peas and carrots. Peas and carrots, peas and carrots. How do I hold this? With the stem? What are other people doing? Oh, well, we're having a freaking great time. We don't give a woo. Hey, Sophie. Bex. How are you supposed to hold a red wine glass? I'm not sure. Hey, but this is pretty groovy, though. Free wine. Well, technically, we paid for it. It's so funny to drink legally here. I never drink at home. You meet anyone cool? Some nice Californians. Everyone here seems like such normies. How's your host family? They're super old. I'm just with one lady. She's a practicing Catholic. I don't think I'm going to tell her I'm gay. That sucks. Ding, ding, ding. I think it's group time. Okay, see ya. I've been here 2 years and I barely speak a word of French. You don't need it at all. I'm international business relations. You? Communications. How about you, Sophie? I'm studio art. Paris must be so exciting for an artist. What do we got? Drinks are so expensive. I could just go and get on the metro. Oh my gosh, the trees with the little lights. It's too bad we missed Christmas in Paris. God, why did I leave my bike at home? Okay, let's get another round. I think I'm gonna head out, guys. Really nice to meet you all. Bye, see you at school. As a result of feeling other often in my life, I, like so many others, have learned some important semiotic shortcuts for making friends. Whoa. Bike. Special bike. Fix gear. Ugh, I heard there weren't any fixies in Paris yet. So fixie means bike geek. Wait, bike geek might mean punk. And punk might mean queer. Hey. Nice bike. Hey. Black bandana. I saw you at orientation. Black everything. I saw your messenger bag and I thought, either this girl rides bikes, no brakes, or she's a total tool. Well, I ride bikes. Where's your bike? California? No. We're from New York. You should hang out with us. Yeah, sure. Cool. Cool. Yes. Okay, and we'll leave it at that. Thank you.
One more time for Sophie. Pretty sure that's my first time seeing a comic perform like that, so thank you so much, Sophie. Thank you. All right, we got a couple more acts to go. Is it cool if I read something for y'all? Can I do the creative thing? Okay. It's National Poetry Month, by the way, April, so this is why there's a lot of poetry on the stage tonight. I wrote a poem, and the title's pretty obvious, but it's a new poem, and yeah, it goes like this. Without permission, without maps, without question, without Olympics, slow streets, parklets, with or without security guards, without skate shops, this would not exist. Without knowing Noguchi's last public installation became a skate spot in Florida, as much a memorial to fallen flesh spirits of space. Without knowing each trick is landed as Earth rotates on its axis. Without the bootlegs and dubbing would dub not blast its way to selector's speaker. Without your next favorite band. Without living a life in the basement, without post-high school self-conscription, without requests, tour guides we become, cities we identify by the marble of their benches, the tactile, preceding experiential, skating just the same. Without Philadelphia would swishy pants exist, or your favorite prose cornrow stage. Without would we know the term Googie architecture, nor the cracks of the courthouse. Without knowing Janet Delaney or Ted Pushinsky were spot-checking Soma and the Mission before skaters, the lurk fueling a shared street-level lens, tools of our trade expose quivers in others. Without history, without borders, without skateboarding I've lived for nearly a year, my endorphins doing backstrokes in sewer drains, without valid ID, without a city, we make its noise with every push, screaming into the dead of any streets. anywhere. Without self-propulsion, a city cannot identify as such. A loss of license available upon reapplication. Without skateboarding, without shoe-gooing sneakers, torn from grip tape, with the cardboard filling the holes inside my father's winter shoes not appear. This silent triumph, a trick engendering conversation too, descendant of those 10 toes raised in East Harlem streets. So, in the exhibit across the way, Skateboarding San Francisco, there is a lot of ephemera related to VHS and skate videos. These are very limitedly produced kind of documentations of a series of skateboard tricks set to a soundtrack that was probably not licensed with legality with the record company. So this is an homage to that a little bit. This is called No Lurk Limit. Inserting a skate video VHS into the family video console felt intrinsically renegade. The black brick holding together the magnetized videotape might as well have been a Girls Gone Wild video or something equally salacious and unregulated. Before smartphones and online video, watching skate videos on the same console on which my parents watched 60 Minutes was akin to trying to carve out some privacy. Maybe it was the decade in which skate videos entered our home that made them feel part of this larger underground culture of downtown Los Angeles, raves, car races, and music scenes amidst the mainstream televised MTV of everything from safe sex awareness to voter registration programming. Rock the vote. Skateboarding's most representative and labor-intensive presentation is the skate video. If a band's 4-vinyl gatefold mega album were a skate video, it'd be a 30-minute compression of a dozen individual parts, with each skater's part its own 2 to 3 minute solo project, an accumulation of years' worth of work for just a few seconds of documented tricks, clips, sequenced, compressed, and shared across digital platforms onto a skater's glowing screen. If Skate Magazine's still photography offers questions about the form's possibilities, Skate Videos presents the answers at full speed or in slow motion homage. The proof is the movement and sonics behind every landed or failed trick. And while a magazine may capture a moment in time, nothing can help you realize it more than hearing skateboarding at full volume. They are passports to the world skateboarding opens, from the pants, the shoulders leading to a well-popped maneuver, and the soundtrack to the angle of the cameras and the light flares. It all adds to the spectacle skateboarding offers through visualized demonstration. This is how you skate. This is how you should look rolling away, escaping death, arrest, or both. What if being a basketball fan meant no longer watching LeBron on TV, but only seeing LeBron train in the gym? There's an energy, a passion missing in such spaces that is palpable, particularly when presented through video. Growing up, I hyper-memorized as many skate videos as possible. Every new song became a portal to a new band, record label, or genre of music. In a pre-streaming world, skate videos were unintentional mixtapes. Brands were defined by their soundtracks and tastes, finding songs tasteful enough to soundtrack a skater's part. That part doesn't even have to be that good. The song can act as a savior, a literal redemption song for otherwise lackluster parts, preventing someone from smashing the fast-forward button on the remote control. One afternoon, after watching Kareem Campbell's trilogy part for the 3rd consecutive time, my mom laughed after his slow-motion nollie hard flip over a picnic table. "I like that line," she says. "It's clever." It took me a moment to realize she was referring to the rap delivered by Nasir Jones, aka Nas, when he says, "I'd open every cell in Africa, send them to Africa," painting his vision of what a world would look like if Nas were in control. Campbell's part in Trilogy enabled my parents to see the socially conscious dimension of hip-hop and how it related to those last Poets albums they started playing when I turned 10, warning of the condition of Black America's streets. Part of the reason my parents placed needle to record was the Southern California in which I was raised, a decade that started with the LA riots, transitioned into a years-long OJ trial, and continued with the punitive 3 strikes policy of California Governor Pete Wilson. Wilson's infamous Prop 187 attempted to create a state-administered citizenship system that denied immigrants basic social services, stripping them of health care and access to education, facing public outcry, and was ultimately deemed unconstitutional. As predominantly Black and brown skaters pushed street skateboarding forward at San Francisco's Justin Herman Plaza and the schoolyards of Los Angeles, they were progressing the form under a heightened state of police brutality and incarceration of Black and brown men throughout California. Tales of the World Crew skating Lockwood described the skaters getting the pass from local gang affiliates affiliated with pro skater Fabian Alamar's family. But what of the state-sponsored violence of the 1990s Los Angeles? The decade closed with the infamous Rampart scandal, where the LAPD was exposed for the violent, corrupt anti-gang task force called CRASH that patrolled Rampart Village and neighboring areas. CRASH framed civilian and gang members alike in gang-related killings, its members committing perjury to double down on their false charges. The scandal resulted in more than 100 civil cases filed against the LAPD and over $125 million in punitive damages. My parents knew the stats and the streets, having grown up in Mexico by way of La Puente and in Santurce, Puerto Rico by way of East Harlem, two hoods on either side of the states. Knowing the supposed threat of first impressions kids like me can make on law enforcement, which led to a mix of model minority expectations and sheer, overly hammered common sense. So they ensured that I knew, even before skateboarding, that my privileges were different. With skateboarding, the bleached hair, massive pants, and beyond PG graphics were antithetical to their goal of keeping me away from trouble. In their eyes, presenting myself as a skateboarder was a visual rebellion and a double-down call for police harassment. Voluntarily wearing a shirt that said American Zero was a privilege I never had despite being born in the States. They were warning me about how I was entering the world in general, let alone as a skateboarder. That what I see as an innocent, playful toy is for others a reason to control the outcome of my life. The specter of illegitimate incarceration and the carceral middlemen between freedom and jail lurk at every skate session. When a brown kid starts skateboarding in any era, they are entering a policed world that presumes their guilt, accelerated now by the four wheels propelling them, sometimes illegally, down city streets, schoolyards, back alleys. We enter society always as the other and dismantle the systemic racism behind the idea of a skateboarder with every push, every pair of Dickies against dark skin, above white wheels and neon wood, every pack of BIPOC kids bombing the streets from spot to spot. Skateboarding is rebellion incarnate, but mobbing spots with a pack of kids that looks like you feels closer to the physical reclamation of so-called public space. The excitement and terror fueling the feeling is akin to wearing two Public Enemy shirts, twice the targets on our backs. I felt the specter of police violence constantly. When kicking us out of spots, cops would separate me from white friends, asking them how they knew me if we went to the same school. I think of all of this in the wake of a recent email from my mother, checking in and slightly reminiscing about my days growing up skating in the street in front of our house, how I'd yell for her to witness my next handful of attempts trying to land a new flip trick. Then she delivered an unprompted and belated cautionary tale. Quote, "You have no idea how much I worried about you while you were out skating," she wrote. "But I kept telling myself that I needed to give you the space to make your own mistakes and that whatever we had taught you would somehow surface and allow you to survive." Okay, thank you very much. We are about to kick it off with our last performers of the night. Are you all ready for that? Can we give a big round of applause for the next people coming to the stage? If you guys want to start coming up too, you're more than welcome to, especially PC if you want to get yourself ready. We got a musical, poetic number for y'all. First and foremost, PC Munoz is a percussionist, composer, producer, and writer based in San Francisco. His body of work as an artist and producer includes Grammy-nominated contemporary classical music with composer and cellist John Renaud, as well as recordings with rock legend Jackson Browne, Chicana poet Chanteuse Ingrid Chavez, Oakland hip-hop heavyweight Kev Choice, visionary jazz musician David Boyce, and more. He is a current Mosaic American Fellow, a featured writer in the new collection from University of Hawaii Press called New Chamorro Literature, and was the 2022 Quinteto Latino Composer in Residence. Please give it up for PC Munoz. Joining PC on stage is Josiah Luis Alderate, a full-blooded Spanglish-speaking pocho y left-handed gallero de Aztlán who has been part of the Bay Area spoken word scene for 20 years. He is the curator and host of the long-running monthly Latin reading series Speaking Axol, and is the author of 2 books of poetry, Baby Axols and Old Pochos, and the chapbook Fuchi Faces de los Estados Jodidos. In 2023, he was the Poetry Center's Masa Writer in Residence at San Francisco State. Along with his bookstore sister, Tan Cancao, Josiah tends the portal known as Medicina para Pesadillas, Bookstore y Galeria on 24th Street in San Pancho, Califas. Give it up for Josiah Luis Alderate.
Buenas noches. I feel like I should preface my poetry with a skateboarding anecdote. I don't have one. Well, we went to the first Lollapalooza back then and took LSD, all of us. And when Ice-T came out, it was the original Gangster album. All the machine guns and stuff freaked my friend out, so he ran away, and he ended up in the med tent. Do they still have med tents at concerts? These are basically, for those of you that don't know, it's these tents where these big old deadheads hang out, and if you take too many psychedelics, you can come to the med tent and they'll sit on you till you're okay. So my friend ended up in the med tent with a big guy named Chummy sitting on him, trying to calm him down, and I went in to talk to my friend, and in the middle of trying to talk my friend down, I looked over to the left, and there was another person with a giant deadhead sitting on him, and it was Tony Hawk. If you know, you know. We're gonna do 2 poems tonight. We was gonna do 1, we're gonna do 2 because I want to include LA as well as San Pancho. Yeah, so here go the LA poem. The last time I was in Los Angeles, I ended up having one of those divine kind of visitation moments, you know? I mean, the last time I was in Los Angeles, La Snaky Skirt herself guided us down Calle Figueroa. And Calle Figueroa is really the universe. And Calle Figueroa is really the long way around to the 7 cuevas. And Calle Figueroa is really my querida sobrina Tatiana's memorias. Patas y patas y patas y patas y patas y patas y patas past old ranflas. These old ranflas that never left the block. Down to Culebra Park with the shapes in the trees, y el humo. La luz del sol is a specific kind of gold around here, my children. La Snaky Skirt explains to us, pointing to the concrete where the elote once grew, feeding the entire pueblo. This tierra was used by many back then, my children, she says to us. This new concrete belongs to only a few. And that's hard for these modern day conquistadors to understand how fucked up that truly is, my children. And as she finishes talking to us, rust appears on a metal nail salon door across Figueroa, and La Snaky Skirt takes the rust as an offering. And suddenly, a Polaroid picture of a Sagrado Corazon appears in el cielo as a strange cloud formation. At night, it'll become a new constellation. And as we're looking up at this milagro, a viejito shuffles past us. Tore up vaquero hat on, impossibly faded flannel shirt, 1,000-year-old blue jeans, vaquero boots that look like he walked through 20 deserts. I'm looking at that viejito man. Suddenly I recognize him. I recognize that viejito man. Years ago, he used to be a guapo talking chili pepper painted on the corner of that taco spot on Avenue 50. Now he wanders up and down Figueroa. He can't remember who he is. He can't remember what he once was. And La La snaky skirt sees this y empieza a llorar. Her lágrimas, her holy lágrimas, are a papaya licuado that we sip on as we duck behind the buildings, ignoring the white man's graffiti, porque los vale madre. I got one more thing to show you, my children, she says to us, motioning us over to a chain link camposanto. It's got some headstones and some broke-ass Toyota Corollas in it. And that chain link camposanto years ago used to be a curanderas jardín that overflowed green into all of this. On the ground there's an old pair of pantalones that once belonged to Huitzlipochtli. A snaky skirt blows us a kiss, puts on the pantalones, veterano cuffs the bottoms, and suddenly her left hand turns into a quesadilla of Huitzlipochtli, and suddenly her right hand turns into a quesadilla of flor de calabaza, and she says, take this, you pochos, pochas, and poches, and eat from it. For this neighborhood, this beloved neighborhood, this querido barrio is one of my many bodies, which was not given up for you.
The cities, our cities are made up of concrete, no doubt. But there's things underneath the concrete that make up the cities as well. Yeah? You know, people come to San Pancho and they come here and they go, and they get here and they go, what? Where's the city I was told about? It's still here. You just got to look a little deeper. Yeah? The poet Roberto Vargas, after not visiting the mission for over 15 years, came back, spent a week here, looked us in the eye and said, the mission is exactly the way I remember it. Hard to believe with all the wine bar, plant stores, and pop-up kombucha enema spots on Valencia Street, but I believe the man, you know? I mean, we're not talking about nostalgia. We're talking about history, you understand? So when I remember San Francisco, I remember San Francisco. I remember San Francisco, y'all. I don't go out there and look at the Waymos cruising by. I don't go hang out in them clubs and get me a kombucha enema in the heavily tiled mirror bathroom. You don't see me with any .com tattoos. I've never given a coffee order to an AI barista. That's not my city, man. Because I remember San Francisco, y'all. I remember San Francisco, y'all. I remember San Francisco. In the embarrassing Polaroid pictures taken by the ghosts of beatniks that can't spell and Barbary Coast smugglers that'll never ever text message. I remember San Francisco in the layers of graffiti in the bathroom walls at Specs and in Cafe Trieste, and in the burned out light bulbs at the top of the Trans-America Pyramid. I remember San Francisco in the secret tunnels beneath Chinatown, where so many of the Chinese still go when they get sick of the pinche turistas asking for nunchucks, opiated bubblegum, or firecrackers. Got any nunchucks, opiated bubblegum, or firecrackers? Shit, no. Because I remember San Francisco in the Kearney Street moonlight, that never stopped protecting the International Hotel and then the salt and pepper halo of Al Robles' hair. Yeah, I remember San Francisco in the stoop hieroglyphics left by the black familias that used to live in the Fillmore. I think you mean the Western Addition. I think you mean the Fillmore. I think you mean the Western Addition. I think you mean the Western Addition. Remember San Francisco. I remember San Francisco. In the headlights and taillights and then possibly polished chrome of the lowriders cruising low and slow through La Misión, lighting up the neighborhood like candelas on an ofrenda. I remember San Francisco dancing with the beautiful brown drag queens at Esta Noche all night long. As I remember San Francisco, as I walk down Van Ness, reach for my wallet and say, shit, I just got pickpocketed by the ghost of Jack Black. As I remember San Francisco. As I remember San Francisco, the time Harvey Milk in a PR mayoral stunt made out with the Golden Gate Bridge in front of the Baghdad Cafe at 3 in the morning while drag queen angelitos whistled show tunes above them and leather daddies with tables by the window watched the whole sloppy make-out spectacle while finishing their large stash of strawberry pancakes. I remember San Francisco. I remember San Francisco in the narrow 2 a.m. doorways in North Beach where the echoes of Bob Kaufman's poems still linger like smoke. I remember San Francisco as Diego Rivera would wander its hilly streets, as the colores from his Pan-American Unity fresco spilled out of his pants pocket, while Frida waited sullenly back at the room, eyeballing the weather suspiciously through the window. Shit. I remember San Francisco when I get that nostalgic urge to eat one of those 1980 Quaaludes. So I make my way down to TL, make my way down to Pill Hill, but these days, all they're selling down there is smokable razor blades and fentanyl, man. Smokable razor blades and fentanyl, man. So I respectfully back up, make my way down to the spot where Compton's cafeteria used to be, and I light a candela and say a prayer and smile real big when I remember that look of disbelief that pinche cop had on his face right before that cup of coffee was tossed at him. I remember San Francisco. I remember San Francisco, the time the entire city collectively took LSD, and we concentrated real hard and turned the army bunkers below Golden Gate Bridge into an Aztec temple playland. For an entire day and night, it was psychedelically unreal, man. You could ride the feathered serpent water slides, go to the smoking mirror house. You could even sacrifice conquistadors in the bouncy castle, man. It was beautiful. Tourists gathered, European tourists posed for pictures, and then ran excitedly back to their hotel room with their torn out, sacrificed hearts in their hand to write postcard after postcard to their friends and familia, telling them how beautiful and strange this city really is. I remember San Francisco, the time Oscar Zeta Acosta, the brown buffalo man, pissed on the steps of St. Anthony's Church and then projectile vomited ectoplasm and warm cerveza as he made his way down to Market Street to catch a Muni back to La Misión, where he'd spend the rest of his night in front of his Valencia Street SRO, drunkenly playing his clarinet until at last he'd fall asleep and dream drunk brown buffalo dreams times where him and all the other brown buffaloes would be bellowing down Mission Street, bellowing, que viva la raza, cabrones. I remember San Francisco on Sunday mornings when the music from St. John Coltrane's church would drift up and down Divisadero Street, cleansing everything like a new rain. I remember San Francisco. I remember San Francisco.
Gracias, familia. Gracias, SF Public Library. Gracias, José.
Peace Muñoz!
Give it up one more time for Josiah Luis Alderate, PC Muñoz, Pendarvis Harshaw, Soledad con Carne, Sophie Yanow, Johnson. In absentia, Tongo Eisen Martin was supposed to be here tonight but has fell ill. We want to give a big round of applause for Tongo as well. Thank you, Allison from San Francisco Public Library. Thank you, Ted Barrow. Thank you, Megan Merritt. Please enjoy the Skating San Francisco exhibit across the way. That concludes our night, and thank you very much.